Hello, this is, let me see here, what class is this? Algebra 1B for Mr. Fry. I'm looking at the writing equations from 2 points. These are the formulas that we are going to be using. This is the slope formula. I'm going to take my second y value minus my first y value over my second x value minus my first x value. Then I'm going to take those that slope, and I'm going to plug it into this point slope formula, and I'm going to put my slope there, and I'm going to put my first x value here, and my second and my first y value here. This may look a little different than what you normally see. If you were to look it up, it looks like this. But in order to get y by itself on one side, I have to add y 1 to both sides. So I added it, I got rid of it over here, and it just makes life a little bit easier if you just start with that. So without further ado, I like to label my x1, y1, x2, y2, okay? And I take my y2 minus my y1, minus a negative makes it plus. That's why I have 0 plus 2. And then I'm going to take my x2 minus my x1, so 3 minus 0, and I get 2/3. Now I'm going to plug it into this formula, my point slope form. I'm going to take this point right here. You can take either point, you actually get the same answer. Because these points are on the same line, you'll get the same answer. Pretty interesting. You can try it and see if you get the same answer, and you will. I have 2/3. X minus my first x is 0. And then plus my y1. My y1 happens to be a negative 2, so it's plus a negative, so it's just minus 2. 2/3 times x is 2/3. 2/3 times 0 is nothing, so I don't have anything there. And then I have my minus 2, and there's my equation in slope intercept form of a line that goes through these 2 points. I do the same thing for 3. I figure out the slope. Here I am figuring out the slope with my x1 and y1, x2, y2, and I end up with -3. And then I plug in my -3 to the point slope form, and I use my x1 and use my y1. -3 times x is -3x. -3 times a -2 is a +6. And I have my -5 here. I put my +6 and -5 together and get a +1, a +1, and there's my final answer there. Okay, for number 5, I have my x1, y1, x2, y2, and here we go. I figure out my slope is -1/2. I then plug in my -1/2 to the point slope formula, and I put my x1 here and my y1 here, and I end up with just y equals -1/2x plus 1. And lastly, I have my x1, y1, x2, y2, and I figure out my slope. And then I plug that slope into the equation for point slope form, and I end up with y equals 1/2x minus 1. Okay, when you are working on the even ones, make sure you use this formula first. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Label your points each time. So x1, y1, x2, y2. Go ahead and label all these first. That really helps when you do that. Okay? Kind of keeps you straight. I do it every time. And, label them first. And then after you figure out the slope, then you're going to plug that into y equals m, and then x minus your x1. This x1 comes from over here. Okay? And then it's plus y1, plus your y1. And that y1 comes from over here. Okay? And just go ahead and use those. All right? And then solve it, and you're all set. So good luck.